Test. Oh, we're on. Look at that. It's noon here in downtown Bethesda, Maryland, the worldwide headquarters of CarEdge. And this is news that you can use from CarEdge.com with your hosts, Ray and Zach, for, I think this is Thursday, March 2nd, if I'm not mistaken.
Staying hydrated, everyone, right, Dad?
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah. People love to see how you drink out of that thing.
All right, here's the deal. We talk about it somewhat frequently. We need people to stop buying cars. We have the latest data from Ford, folks, and we are going to make a strong case for why we need people to stop buying new cars. Ford, Hyundai, Kia, Subaru sales advance. We talked a little bit yesterday about the divergent strategies between the Hyundai, Kias of the world and the Toyotas and the Fords, GMs, etc.
Yes.
You have a group of automakers going with more inexpensive vehicles and not jacking prices up like crazy. And then you have automakers that are simply trying to serve folks that make, $250,000 or more a year. The issue is, Dad.
Yes.
Ford sales up 23% year over year for February. The big shocker here, the 22% increase in F-Series sales in February. 55,000 F-Series trucks sold in February. Why am I saying we need to stop buying cars? Because if we come over here to average transaction prices, this comes from the fourth quarter from Ford. Wait for it. Let me zoom in here. The average transaction price for the F-Series.
Yes.
Mustang F-Series right here. $65,858.
Could we just call that $66,000?
So why am I on here today, Dad, saying we need to stop buying new cars? Ford sales of the F-Series up 22%. Average transaction price of an F-Series, $66,000.
If that's
I'm
the average,
the green screen.
Yeah. If that's the average transaction price, I will never, ever, ever own an F-Series. I couldn't afford one. Where do they find 22% more people to buy more of these? I mean, who's doing this? How?
Seriously, how?
Seriously.
We talked about it yesterday. The data back on automotive news is super interesting. So let me pull it up and we can all take a peek together. The data that they have about average transaction prices, where was it? Let's see. Let's find it. Average transaction prices and which brands have increased or decreased prices.
Yes.
So year over year, Ford's average transaction price, this is the data from TrueCar, is up 13%. And year over year, their sales are up 22%.
And so well, the good news is that from January to February, the average transaction price for all Fords actually declined by almost 1%. But still, the average Ford transaction price was nearly $55,000. $55,000. Now, I know every time I say that, I sound like it's just incredulous to me. It's almost inconceivable that could be the average price of a Ford transaction, and that's not affordable. I don't know. I'll be 72.
Yep.
I lived a comfortable life. I've made a comfortable living. I still make a comfortable living. I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination. Never have been. Maybe one day I will be. But the odds of that are fairly remote when you're almost 72. If it hasn't happened yet, it's probably not going to happen. But my point is, having lived a good life, having made a nice living, I couldn't afford one of those vehicles. I couldn't afford to spend $55,000 for a Ford product or any product. I mean, everybody knows I drive, well, not everybody, but most people know I drive a Mini. And I drive Mini Clubman all fours, S all fours. And I bought a special edition or a lease edition. And I think it was like a $42,000 or $43,000 car, but I bought it at the dealership that I used to manage. They took particularly good care of me. I got a significant discount really significant.
Yep.
So that this vehicle that was listed for 42 or 44, I don't know. I think I got it for like $34,000 or $35,000 after all the incentives and loyalty.
Yep.
And that was a stretch. So how could I ever consider a vehicle that's $20,000 more?
And I want to go to Dad to help quantify, I think, the problem here, or at least demonstrate the problem. You go to today's YouTube video that we put out on the CarEdge channel.
Yes.
Car Buying 101, Part 1, Budgeting.
Yes.
Okay. We're doing a 3-part series. It's kind of like Deal School, but just abbreviated. We're just trying to help. Okay.
Yes.
Budgeting.
Yes.
And you talk about your 10% rule.
Yes. And I believe I even mentioned in there, in these tougher times, if you have to go up to 15%, but I would prefer that people don't. Okay. But and the example we used, if somebody made $60,000 a year, which is equivalent to $5,000 a month, well, the 10% rule would be your car expense should be about $500 a month, all in, including gas, maintenance, insurance, and your monthly car payment. So that doesn't provide you with buying a $55,000 car.
So one of the most upvoted comments, and again, we do read most, if not all, of the comments from Tones. These rules are outdated. Let's take your $60K a year salary, which is higher than the average currently, and let's keep the $500 car minus the insurance, which with my Ford Focus, I'm paying $100 a month with no accidents on record. So now $400 for car plus gas. So I pay about $40 a week in gas. That's $160. So that's $240 for car plus maintenance. Let's just say that breaks an oil change and everything else come out to be another $20 of the $240. That's $220. Congrats. The max I can afford with $0 down is $11,000 for a car.
And if I may say, if you have $0 down, you shouldn't be looking to buy a new car.
But I think, regardless of that particular example or not, it illustrates how unaffordable cars are.
And even if you went to 15%, okay, well, that would mean you could budget $750 a month all in for your car, including everything. So if they're everything, the car payment portion of it could be $450 a month. That's still not buying you a $55,000 car. So it is shocking to me the number of people out there who can readily afford to have the type of car payment it takes to buy a $55,000 car, or better yet, a $66,000 F-Series pickup. I mean, that I just can't begin to imagine utilizing the 10 to 15% rule, how people do it. Now, if I were to guess, a lot of those people probably have a substantial amount of credit card debt and other debt, and they're using credit cards and other means to support their ability to have a higher car payment. Because I don't know how people, I don't. And like I say, I made a decent living. We went on vacations every year. We, as a family,
most years.
Yeah. We figured out ways to be able to do things and keep our car payments in. Now, okay, I was in the car business, so I had certain advantages when it came to car payments and what I would pay for a car and how much I could get a car for. But goodness gracious, the average transaction prices are just, in my mind, staggering.
And again, the reason that the plea continues to be stop buying new cars is because year over year, Ford sales up 23%, F-Series 22%. So you don't have to look that far to see us as consumers accepting this new reality, which again, we've talked about and we will continue to talk about. It's the story of 2023. Divergent strategies from automakers who, like Honda, for example, bringing back their entry-level trims.
Yes.
Who's going to serve a mass market consumer, a $25,000 MSRP, versus who is going to serve the wealthy, which is now Ford and GM and Stellantis and others.
I was just in your sister's new
Mazda
CX-5 last night, and it really for a car that they bought for below $30,000, it it was really a lovely vehicle and nicely equipped. Um, and that vehicle was $22,000 less, or more than that, less than the Ford.
What are you trying to say? You're trying to say how much cheaper it is than an average Ford?
Yeah, it was $27,000 less.
What was the price of the Mazda they bought?
$28,000.
Yeah, it's half the price of a Ford.
Yeah,
it's half the price of an average Ford.
Yes.
And you know what? Did they make it to dinner last night? Did they drive to dinner last night?
Well, one of them did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The thing gets you from point A to point B.
Oh, absolutely.
Crazy concept.
Yes.
Truly a crazy concept.
Of course, Dad picked up the tab, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, let's go to the chat here for a quick question, Pops. Quick minute here. We've got from Josh, what could possibly be driving consumers to pay these ridiculous prices? You know, it's consumerism, it's the marketing, it's the manufacturer's decision to lean in entirely on these types of vehicles. But at the end of the day, it's also partly, I got to say, it's partly the banks for just financing these things. Like, I still can't believe that they're doing it. And we talked about the Bloomberg article that yours truly contributed to.
Yes.
It was not named, but that's okay, Mike. We will work on that. The one about people being underwater. The banks are responsible for enabling that.
Well, the banks enable it. It's American consumers that can't control themselves.
Yeah.
You know, that can't say to themselves, well, I could get by with certainly a less expensive vehicle. No. I see the ads all day long. This is what I need to have. That vehicle, based on the ads that I've seen, that's going to make me happier. No, it's going to make you broke.
One of the scary things, so we did some research with our team, Dad. We published this article yesterday. Thank you, Justin, for doing it. The most and least negotiable new cars in 2023.
Okay.
And part of the unfortunate thing, and we worked with our coaches, each month we work hundreds, if not thousands, of car deals. Some of the most negotiable vehicles right now, Dad, are full-size trucks. So it's also, we see these prices get jacked up, but then we also see you can get 7% off or more on a Ram 1500. We're seeing people get 7% off or more on an F-150, 5% off on the Silverado, 8% on the Ridgeline.
I get that. Okay, but the average transaction prices are still $66,000. Whether you get 5% off, 7% off, or 10% off, it doesn't matter if the average transaction price still ends up being in the mid 60s or the upper 50s. It's not affordable. It's a vehicle that you can negotiate on, but that doesn't mean it's affordable. It just means you can negotiate off of the overpriced MSRP of the vehicle. That's all that means. It doesn't make it more affordable.
We're gonna do another water break.
Okay, please do. I mean, it's just
hydration's important. Thank you.
We confuse affordability with a discount.
No, I'm not trying to confuse it. I'm trying to make a demonstration that we are giving the illusion of a deal when the OEM has actually just jacked up the MSRP.
And it's not a deal.
No. Well, it is.
In essence, because if you didn't get that 7% off, then the average transaction price would be in the mid 70s, which would make it even less affordable for even more people. I am just.
Let me see if I can find it actually. There was something really interesting I saw on Twitter that I think falls in alignment with this conversation. Give me 1 second, everyone. Sorry, I didn't have this prepared. Where was it?
I don't know.
We're going to find it.
Where was that one the other day where a lady was buying a
oh my gosh.
What was it, a 1998 Ford of some type for
$298.
$280 a month for 84 months.
So here's something that I think
that car's not going to last 84 more months.
Can't believe a bank would lend against that. So here's something that's interesting.
Yeah.
Dan. This comes from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. All right, what you're looking at is the auto sales deficit year over year. So how many vehicles were not sold?
It was not sold because they weren't produced.
Yep. And then average auto sales is where we were. 17 million vehicles is that line up above, and then where we were. You're looking at a landscape where a lot of vehicles are going to need to be replaced because people have simply been driving older vehicles. So you also have these increasing MSRPs on new cars. This is driving up, obviously, the price, what we've seen over time, and the now steady state of inflated used car prices. Yes. It is interesting to think a little bit about right now the fact that manufacturers are increasing MSRPs, which should mean that those vehicles now in 2 or 3 years as used cars are actually worth more because the original MSRP was more. You can make an interesting case that buying a new expensive car right now actually is financially not a terrible decision because there will be a shortage of quality used cars in the market in 2 or 3 years, and you'll be one of the lucky folks that has that. Maybe the depreciation will be less. Maybe that's a counter argument.
Of course, there will be a shortage of used cars for probably the next 5 to 10 years. And that's because over the last 2.5 years, there were about 16 million new cars that were scheduled to have been built that were not built, which means they were not sold.
Yeah.
And so those 15, 16 million vehicles would have found their way into the market at maybe perhaps even lower prices because there would have been a glut of inventory at that time. But those 15 or 16 million cars that didn't get sold can't get traded in 3 years or 5 years or 6 years.
Yeah.
So this could go on for 7, 8, 10 years because of those 15 million cars that never got built and never got sold that would have been. So, yeah, will prices ever get back to pre-pandemic levels? If you look at data like that, how can it be? How can it ever get back to that?
Your best option is
how much do wages have to go up so that the vast majority of people can actually afford to buy these vehicles at these new higher prices?
Yeah.
For instance, if you live in New York, your average income is higher in New York because your housing costs are higher and your employer knows that they have to pay you more so that you can live somewhere near where you're working. If you work in San Francisco or Silicon Valley,
yeah, of course,
it's the same thing. Wages are higher. And the wages have to be higher so that people can actually afford to live there because the rents and the home prices are outrageous. Well, at a certain point, wages across the board everywhere are going to have to go up so that people can actually afford to buy vehicles.
Should car prices be geographically price discriminated? Should the price of an F-150 be higher in San Francisco than it is in Wichita, Kansas? Is that more fair?
No, I didn't say that would be fair.
I'm not trying to put words on. I'm literally asking.
No. And the reason it's no is because people from San Francisco would go to Wichita, Kansas to buy the vehicle for less because they're less expensive in Wichita, Kansas. Okay. So no, you can't do that, but you either have to figure out ways to lower the prices of the vehicles to make them affordable to more people, or across the board, there has to be enough wage increases to allow people to be able to buy these now overpriced or inflated priced vehicles because of the shortages that had been in place for the past 3 years. But it's inconceivable that this can be sustained long term.
I don't see it either, Pops.
And I know, I believe my future, when my lease is up, is Ray doesn't get another car. Ray just takes whatever he would normally spend for a car, using the 10% rule, whatever I would have spent for a car, including gas, maintenance, and insurance. Well, that will go towards Uber and Lyft, so that when I need to get somewhere, I can, and that's how I'll get somewhere.
Yeah, totally. Hey, let's go to the chat here, Pops. We've got a couple interesting comments from Brado.
Thank you, Brado.
You discuss year over year. What about since 2019? I don't have data for sales numbers prepped for 2019 compared to today, but I would imagine sales in 2019 were significantly higher than they were this year. And
the average transaction prices was probably
significantly lower,
20 to 25% lower than what they are today.
Well, we do have, I have easy access. Actually, Brado, you know what? Now that I'm saying that out loud, we have that right here. Let's look at this together. See if we can get you an
Can
answer.
we?
Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is average transaction price. This is Q4 Brados. This is not February, but you can see Q4 average transaction price. Ford is the blue line. It looks like it was right in between $40,000 and $50,000, maybe $45,000.
Yeah, it was about $44,000.
Yep. And then obviously where we are today is it's $56,000. So what is that? $11,000 increase over
$12,000 increase.
All right.
That's got to be what? 20%.
And then-
20% would have been 8,000. It's a 30% increase.
And then here's the chart of sales from Q4. So Q4 2019, Ford blue line again.
Yeah.
The sales were 580,000, 570,000 units, and then this year obviously they were 480,000. So they lost 20% of their
100,000.
sales. Yeah, 20%, a little more than 20% of their sales.
Okay.
So there you go.
You ask Brado, you get, and you didn't even really have to pay for that. We probably would have figured that out for you for free.
Absolutely. All right, Dad, we've got here from Taker saying a dealer group in my area, thank you, Taker, has 20 new F-150 Lightnings for sale. Keep in mind, you still can't order one as of today. Average price is likely $91,000.
Seems reasonable to me.
Seems like something, man. Seems like something.
Now, the question would be, if the average price is $91,000, what is the actual average MSRP? Because obviously these were vehicles that weren't built for people that had reservations. So that dealership group is probably, I'm just assuming, probably adding an additional dealer markup on top of the MSRP to bring those average prices to $91,000.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And you know, that amount could be $10,000, $15,000 for all we know.
Absolutely.
All
right,
just air.
Let's this is an interesting one from Richard.
Yeah.
Why do you think manufacturers only want to make and sell pickup trucks and SUVs? Could be a little more lucrative.
Yeah,
Just a little more lucrative for them.
It's a lot more. We get that.
We totally
but,
get it.
But it doesn't mean in the long term that it's in the best interest nationally for our country. You know, you need a vehicle to get to work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if the only vehicle you can afford is a $10,000 vehicle, the likelihood of that remaining trouble-free is significantly lower than if you were able to buy a brand new car.
Yeah, of course.
Well, that can materially impact someone's life. You know, how do you go about finding a better job if you have difficulty getting to your job because you're driving a $10,000 car that's not as reliable? It's a terrible conundrum.
Let's hit on one more question, and then I want to go to success stories. Mark says, so the message for today's show is stop buying new cars, which begs the question is when, essentially. We keep kicking the rock down the road. And I think, Mark, one of the really interesting pieces is when folks are buying cars and buying these expensive cars, they are providing more fuel to the fire for the strategy that we talked about yesterday and we've talked a little bit about today, which is if you increase prices, we'll continue to buy. And so maybe our message needs to be refined. Buy cars that are in the sub $30,000 price range and reward the automakers that are investing in them.
Those.
Stop buying $66,000 F-150s.
No, F-Series.
F-Series, excuse me. Thank you. $66,000 F-Series trucks at a 22% higher clip year over year, because that just gives Ford more fuel for the fire to do that. And you know, we read, yeah, thank you, Mark. You're helping. If anything about us, you guys should know that we are authentic and transparent. Like if we're not communicating something effectively, we were happy to revise it.
Yes.
So I think that is the revised approach here. And I just want to be clear. A lot of people are, you guys help people buy cars. That's your business. 1,000% it is.
Yes.
We help people save a lot of money. We're going to talk about a success story in just a second here. We might tell people that you shouldn't buy a car. People are still going to buy a car. If they're going to do it, we want to get them help to do it. And also, if you need to buy a thing, the number of folks that come to us that had recent accidents, their cars are totaled. Can you imagine being in their shoes and not having any help to go through the process to replace it? So that's what we're here to do. Hopefully that's understood. Let's look at a quick success story, Ted. This is on the community forum. Community forum, 100% free. All like-minded people helping each other save money and time on car deals. $3,255 saved on the new BMW 330i Extra.
Wow.
Too long, didn't read. Got my new BMW at invoice pricing, saving me $3,200 off of MSRP. F&I process was super easy thanks to CarEdge tips. Sold my 2017 Mazda CX-5 for $4,000 more than any offer I could find on my own. Thank you for everyone here. It's a great success story about saving money on both ends. Honestly, I'm going to say all three. Negotiating the out-the-door price of the car, the F&I office, and selling the vehicle. A perfect example here. It came in with a pre-approval from Wings Credit Union, but ended up using BMW Financial as they beat Wings by 0.4%. This is why we built what we built.
Yes.
This is awesome. Also, look at this big shout out to CarWiser.
Yeah.
You go to caredge.com/sell from CarEdge. I did not feel comfortable private selling my Mazda CX-5 as it was titled in Florida, but I was selling in California. I'd reached out to a couple of local places for offers, but couldn't find a place that would even come close to the deal I got using CarWiser, $4,000 more than the highest offer from going a few places on my own. Overall, I felt very happy with the $12,000 offer I received using the CarEdge trading tool. Gang, no matter how many people give us crap, I'm going to feel damn good about what we do because it's stories like these. It's all right here. Go on finance, get the pre-qualification with a credit union. We make it take less than 5 minutes. Then you have leverage at the dealership.
Exactly.
When you're selling the car, do not just go with the KBB value. Fill this form out. You don't get any spam or any crap. You get all the offers in one place. When the dealer hits you with the warranty quote, have your warranty quote that's lower and use it to negotiate. I'm very proud of what we built. Very proud of what we built. And it's awesome to read success stories like that.
Absolutely. And it's, we're not.
We don't have to judge. I just wanted to share a success story.
No, I mean, we're here to help, and we're here to provide as much information as we can so that people can be able to make an intelligent decision when it comes to making the second most expensive purchase in their lives. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. Really pretty simple. By the way, are we trying to make a few dollars doing this? You're damn right we are. And you know what? We're entitled to that.
I don't love you ending on that note personally, because I feel like
Then change it.
The only thing that I'll add to what you were just saying, Dad, is we've, I think, done a really good job explaining why we make money and how we make money, but I don't love every single show turning into this. So if you go to the community forum, and if you go to start here, and you go to the manifesto. I got to update this because this still has our old name. But if you go to our manifesto, it explains how we make money, why we make money, and the way in which we do it. So there's a real good rationale for why we're doing what we're doing. We don't want to be TrueCar 2.0. We don't want to sell out to dealers. We can't. We just 100% can't. Okay, Michael, $4.99. That helps. Thank you, Michael. High car prices put a strain on the economy because customers will have less funds to spend across the economy. I wonder what legislators will do.
Who knows?
Not on today's show, Michael.
Yeah.
We're not going there today.
Yeah.
All right, let's. Oh, hey, Brandon's here. Just tuned in. Pop said, F it, change it. Brandon, hopefully we're excited. We got to get an update from you, Brandon. Obviously, if you're not familiar with Car Questions Answered, go watch his channel. Be very curious to hear how tax time's going in your neck of the woods. Let's call it a show, though.
Okay.
We're back with
more news that you can use tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, with our dear friend, Miss Kimberly Klein, the F&I goddess herself, for Kimberly's Corner tomorrow. Yes, absolutely. We'll be back to do this again.
Thank you all for being here. We appreciate your continued support, and
Yes.
we'll talk to you soon.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.